The fallout from Telstra's network meltdown is far from over this morning, with transport still disrupted and police conducting welfare checks on dozens of people who had 000 calls drop out during the network crash. Telstra says its team is still working to reduce an issue affecting 000 calls and is only 90% there.
Investigations into the telco's crisis have already started, with warnings it could face a multi-million-dollar fine as political pressure mounts. Pablo Vinales is at Parliament House for us this morning, and Danushi Dias is in Melbourne, where commuters are still facing delays. Danushi, we were talking about this yesterday morning and it's still not resolved. What services are affected today?
Yes, Catherine, still not resolved. Yesterday morning, there was utter chaos when people came up and people were still learning that there was this outage. But since then, V-Line has not been able to run any of its regional train services carrying passengers because it says that the outage was linked to a radio network error and it's basically disrupted the way trains communicate with the control centre. So because of that, it has to wait for the communication to stabilise, and then that makes it safe for these train services to run again. So I've been hearing on the intercom here, and the V-Line customer service officers are telling some very disappointed travellers here that they have to either catch a bus replacement if that is available, or find another way to get out to the regions for work, to see family, or whatever it is that they need to get there for.
The Telstra Outage, when Australia went silent. Well, it finally happened. Australia's biggest telecommunications company had a day off and forgot to tell the rest of us. 1 minute you're scrolling memes, the next minute your phone has become the world's most expensive paperweight. No calls, no internet, no mobile data. And for many Australians, no way to contact 000. Now, that's not just inconvenient. That's a serious national issue. So, how did one software glitch bring one of Australia's biggest companies to its knees? And more importantly, what does this tell us about how dependent we become on technology? Let's unpack it. What actually happened? Around 4:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, Telstra customers across Australia began reporting problems. At first, many assumed, well, it must be my phone. Then, it must be my suburb. Then everyone jumped onto social media using someone else's Wi-Fi to discover that the entire country was having exactly the same problem. Millions of customers lost access to mobile calls and data. Businesses struggled. Transportation systems experienced disruptions. Some EFTPOS services were affected. Even trains services in New South Wales and Victoria experienced delays because telecommunication systems rely on Telstra's network, according to ABC News. The cause. Now, here's the interesting part. It wasn't a cyber attack. It wasn't hackers. It wasn't some bloke named Gary accidentally unplugging the internet. According to Telstra, a software defect caused a critical network timing systems to fail. Think of Australia's mobile network like an orchestra. Every musician has to stay in perfect time. Now imagine the conductor suddenly starts waving the baton to a different song completely. Chaos. That timing system keeps thousands of pieces of network equipment synchronized. When it failed, everything started to fall apart. The fault centered around systems in Telstra's Sydney and Melbourne data centers, responsible for network time synchronizations, according to ABC News. Why this was so serious? Now, here's where things stop being funny. During the outage, some Australians couldn't reach 000. Telstra later confirmed that more than 600 emergency calls were affected. requiring hundreds of welfare checks while engineers worked on a secondary software issue impacting emergency call routing, according to the ABC News. Now, that's huge. Imagine getting an ambulance, your child can't breathe, someone's having a heart attack, or you've witnessed a serious accident, and your phone simply doesn't connect. Thankfully, authorities later said reports linking one elderly woman's death to the outage were not supported by police findings, and the senator who raised the concern apologised. But the incident has sparked major questions about resilience in the Australian telecommunications network. The bigger question nobody's asking. Here's what fascinates me. One software bug, one tiny piece of code managed to impact communications, transport, businesses, emergency services, everyday Australians. That's incredible. We have built a society where almost everything depends on digital infrastructure. Think about your average day. Your phone pays for your coffee, unlocks your banking, logs into your work, gets directions, books your doctor, stores your tickets, verifies your identity, that's if you do digital ID, connects with your family, and without realizing it, we've put enormous amount of trust into systems we can never actually see. And most of the time, they work brilliantly until they don't. Could this happen again? Telstra says engineers have implemented fixes and will conduct a full root cause analysis. Government regulators are currently investigating the outage, including whether Telstra met its obligations around emergency services. They're having some discussions about possible penalties if breaches are identified, according to news.com.au. Now, no system is perfect. Technology fails. Every company experiences outages. But when one failure affects millions of Australians simultaneously, it's fair to ask, should our critical infrastructure have more redundancies? You know, this really wasn't a story about Telstra, it's a story about us. We've built a country where one technical fault can ripple through hospitals, businesses, transport, emergency services, and everyday life. Technology has made our lives far easier than before, but every convenience comes with a trade-off. The more connected we become, the more vulnerable we become when those connections fail. So maybe the real question isn't, why did Telstra go down? Maybe it's, have we built a society that's become too dependent on systems we simply assume will always work? Because if one software bug can stop millions of Australians in their tracks, imagine what happens when the next disruption is even bigger. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, share with a mate, and let me know in the comments. Where were you when the Telstra outage hit? And what was the biggest inconvenience you experienced? Because chances are you've got a story to tell. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, legends!